The great hall of Zenthara Prime hung in space like a crystal jewel. Inside, representatives from 47 species gathered around the circular chamber. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some stood on legs, others floated in specialized tanks. But all of them shared one thing: fear. Ambassador Krelthar walked to the center platform. His 4 arms moved with practiced grace as he activated the holographic display. He was Azentine, a species that had helped form the Galactic Council 300 years ago. His kind lived for centuries and believed in order above all else. Members of the Council, Krelthar began, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into the common language. We face a crisis unlike any in our recorded history. The hologram flickered to life. It showed a yellow star with 8 planets. Earth. The 3rd planet glowed blue and green, wrapped in white clouds. Beautiful, but that beauty hid something dangerous. 80 years ago, humanity achieved faster-than-light travel, Krelthar continued. At that time, we welcomed them as we welcome all new species. We offered them membership in the Council. We offered them the Accord of Civilized Conduct. The hologram changed. Red dots began appearing across the star map. 1 dot, then 5, then 20. The red spread like disease across previously empty space. They refused, Krelthar said. They refused genetic modification to reduce their aggressive tendencies. They refused population controls. They refused to limit their expansion rate, and look what has happened. The hologram now showed 200 red dots scattered across a vast section of the galaxy. Each dot represented a human colony. Each colony held millions of the creatures. 200 systems, Krelthar said. In just 80 years. For comparison, the Azantine people colonized 12 systems in our first century of space travel. The Vexnari colonized 8. The humans have violated every expansion protocol we established. A Vexnari counselor raised one of her crystalline appendages. Perhaps they simply breed faster? This alone is not— There is more, Krelthar interrupted. He changed the hologram again. This time it showed technical schematics, weapons, ships, technologies that made several counselors recoil in their seats. The humans have developed artificial intelligence, true artificial intelligence, not the limited systems we permit. They have created self-replicating machines. They have weaponized quantum entanglement. They have researched biological weapons tailored to specific species genetics. The chamber erupted in noise. Counselors spoke over each other in dozens of languages. The translator struggled to keep up with the chaos. "These technologies are forbidden," someone shouted. "They were banned after the machine wars." "How did we not stop them?" Krelthar waited for the noise to die down. "We did not stop them because they developed these technologies in secret, because they lied to our inspectors, because they are, by nature, deceptive and aggressive." He pulled up another display. This one showed historical data from Earth itself. Wars, genocides, nuclear weapons used against their own kind. Images of human conflicts that had killed millions of their own species. "Look at their history," Krelthar said quietly. "They are the only species we have encountered that regularly wages war against itself. They have weapons designed specifically to kill other humans. They write stories celebrating violence. Their children play games about combat and conquest." A counselor from the peaceful Luminari species spoke up. Her voice trembled. "Surely there must be another way? The Accord has always sought understanding first. Perhaps if we—" "We tried understanding," Krelthar said. "For 80 years we tried. We sent diplomats. We offered technology sharing. We invited them to cultural exchanges. And while we did this, they smiled and nodded and continued building their war machine." He pulled up the final piece of evidence. It was an intercepted communication from a human military installation. The message was coded, but Council intelligence had broken it. The translation appeared in the air for all to see. Expansion Phase 3 complete. Ghost protocols in effect. Defensive preparations advancing on schedule. They will not see us coming. The chamber fell silent. The words hung in the air like poison. They are preparing for war, Krelthar said. Not defense. War. Against us. Against the Council. Against the peace we have maintained for 3 centuries. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of as many counselors as he could. I have studied the humans extensively. I have read their literature, watched their entertainment, analyzed their psychology. And I tell you this, they are not like us. They do not think like us. Where we see cooperation, they see weakness. Where we see peace, they see opportunity for conquest. They are apex predators from a death world, and they bring that violence with them wherever they go. Another counselor stood. She was Trelnax, one of the oldest members of the council. What do you propose? Krelthar took a deep breath. I propose we invoke Article 7 of the Accord. I propose we declare humanity a Class 7 existential threat. I propose we quarantine Earth and dismantle every human colony beyond their home system. Before it is too late. The silence that followed was absolute. Article 7 had been used only twice in Council history. Both times against species that had attempted to conquer their neighbors. Both times it had meant war. You ask us to go to war with an entire species, the Trelnax counselor asked. I ask us to prevent a war they are already planning, Krelthar replied. I ask us to protect the 47 peaceful species of this council from the one species that refuses to be peaceful. The vote was called. It took 3 hours. Councilors debated, argued, consulted with their home worlds. But in the end, the fear won. 44 species voted yes. Only 3 voted no, and one of those 3 was the Luminari, who refused to vote for violence on principle. The announcement went out across all council channels. By unanimous consent of the Galactic Council, humanity is hereby declared a Class 7 existential threat. All human settlements outside the Sol system are ordered to evacuate within 30 standard days. Earth will be placed under permanent quarantine. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force. The Grand Armada was mobilized. 12,000 warships from a dozen different species, the largest military force the Council had ever assembled. It would take 72 hours for them to reach Earth. What none of them knew was that the human delegation had been present at Zenthera Prime, hidden among the support staff, wearing disguises, listening to every word through hacked communication systems. By the time the Council discovered this, the humans were already gone, and the message had already been sent. In 72 hours, the Armada would reach Earth. But humanity had known this moment would come. They had planned for it, prepared for it. The Council thought they were preventing a catastrophe. They had no idea they were creating one. Admiral Chen Wei stood in the command center of Earth Defense Station 1, watching the holographic display with cold calculation. The warning had come through the quantum-entangled relay just 3 minutes ago. She had 72 hours before the Armada arrived. "Get me the Prime Minister," she said quietly. Her crew moved instantly, making the connection. The Prime Minister's face appeared on screen. He looked older than the last time Chen had seen him. More tired. "Admiral, I assume you received the transmission?" "Yes, sir. They declared us illegal. The Armada launches in 3 hours, arrives in 72. Can we fight them?" Chen pulled up the tactical analysis she had prepared months ago. She had known this day would come. 12,000 ships against our 800. Their technology is older but proven. Our weapons are newer but untested in real combat. Computer gives us a 4% chance of victory. The Prime Minister closed his eyes. 4%. "Yes, sir. But that is not the real question." "What is the real question, Admiral?" "The real question is, how long can we make them pay for it?" Understanding dawned in the Prime Minister's eyes. You are not planning to win. No, sir. I am planning to give everyone else time to run. Within minutes, the order went out across all human colonies. Every settlement received the same message, encoded in a cipher that only humans could break. The message was simple. They are coming. Scatter. 200 colonies received the order. 200 different groups of humans, each with their own leaders, their own resources, their own ideas about survival. There was no central command telling them what to do. That was the human way. That was what the Council never understood. Some colonies chose to dig deep. On Kepler 442b, the settlement of New Beijing began moving underground. Massive boring machines carved tunnels through bedrock. Entire cities relocated beneath the surface where scanners could not find them. They would become moles, living in darkness, waiting. Other colonies chose to hide in plain sight. On Tau Ceti Prime, the colonists had already been modifying their genetics to adapt to the local environment. Now they accelerated the program. Within weeks, they would look nothing like baseline humans. They would appear to be native life, just another species on just another world. 12 colonies loaded everything onto generation ships. These massive vessels carried entire populations in cryosleep. They pointed themselves toward the void between spiral arms, toward the vast empty spaces where no one would think to look. They would travel for centuries. Their children's children would wake up in a galaxy that had forgotten Earth. But Earth itself prepared for war. Chen walked through the orbital shipyards, watching the final preparations. Engineers worked around the clock, welding, testing, loading weapons. The ships were not pretty. They were not elegant like Council vessels. They were functional, brutal, designed for one purpose. "How many?" she asked her second-in-command. 800 combat vessels operational, another 200 that can fight but probably should not, 3,000 autonomous drone platforms, 16,000 orbital defense satellites, 400 million mobile mines. Chen nodded. And the special weapons? Her second-in-command hesitated. "Admiral, some of those weapons violate every treaty we ever signed." "We did not sign those treaties," Chen said. "The Council made those rules for species that wanted to join their club. We never joined. We never agreed." "The biological weapons are tailored to be non-lethal. Mostly, they will make the crew sick but not kill them." "Probably." "And the AI cores?" Chen turned to look at him. "The Council fears artificial intelligence because they once lost a war to machines. We did not lose. We made peace with our creations. Those AI cores are volunteers. They want to fight." "Volunteers," her second repeated. "Admiral, they are software." "They are citizens," Chen corrected. "And they have as much right to defend humanity as you or I." The next 72 hours passed in a blur. Final goodbyes. Last messages sent to loved ones. Chen recorded a message for her daughter, who was 12 and safe in a bunker beneath the Himalayas. She told her daughter she loved her. She did not tell her that she did not expect to survive. When the Armada arrived, it came out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 12,000 ships, arranged in a pattern that had not changed in 300 years. Beautiful, orderly, everything the Council valued. Chen watched them appear on her sensors. "Well," she said to no one in particular, "here we go." The Council sent a message first, as their protocols required. An offer of surrender. Abandon Earth, submit to quarantine, disarm all weapons. Chen deleted it without listening to the end. The battle began at Oro 600 Earth Standard Time. The mines went first, 400 million of them, drifting in space like dead metal. But they were not dead. Each one had a simple computer and a simple task. If something that is not human gets close, explode. The Armada's forward elements hit the minefield and vanished in fire. Hundreds of ships gone in seconds. The Council had shields, but shields only worked against directed energy weapons. High explosive mines moving at a significant fraction of light speed did not care about shields. The Armada adapted. They cleared paths with long-range weapons, vaporizing mines before they could detonate. It worked, but it was slow. Chen had bought her first hours. Next came the drones. 3,000 platforms, each carrying dozens of autonomous fighters. They swarmed the Armada like angry insects. Individually, they were no match for council ships. But there were so many of them, and they did not care about dying. A council battleship could destroy 100 drones, but the 101st would get through, would ram into the hull at relativistic speeds, would detonate its warhead inside the ship. The Armada pushed forward. They had numbers, they had experience, they had technology that had won wars before humanity had discovered fire, but they had never fought an enemy like this. Human ships did not retreat when damaged. They accelerated toward the enemy and exploded. Human weapons did not follow the rules of civilized warfare. Biological agents were released, tailored to each species in the Armada. Viruses that made Azentine soldiers vomit uncontrollably. Bacteria that made Vexenari crystalline structures crack and shatter. Spores that clogged Trelnak's breathing filters. Most of all, the humans cheated. Council protocols said you identify yourself before attacking. Humans launched weapons from stealth platforms that looked like debris. Council protocols said you respect surrender flags. Human ships would broadcast surrender, wait for the enemy to approach, then detonate. Council protocols said you fight honorably. Humans did not care about honor. They cared about winning. By the third day, the Armada had reached Earth orbit, but it had paid the price. 3,000 ships destroyed, 2,000 more damaged, and the humans were still fighting. Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Indomitable. The ship was dying. Hull breaches on 7 decks, life support failing, engines running on backup power. "Admiral," her tactical officer said, "they are calling for our surrender." "Tell them," Chen said, "to go to hell." The Indomitable died 15 minutes later, rammed by 2 council destroyers. Chen died at her post, watching her crew fight until the last second. But she died knowing she had succeeded. The Battle of Sol had lasted 6 days instead of 6 hours. The Armada had lost a quarter of its strength, and every colony in human space had used that time to disappear. When the Council finally established their blockade around Earth, trapping the remaining 3 billion humans on the planet's surface, they thought they had won. They had contained humanity, prevented the spread, saved the galaxy from the human threat. They could not have been more wrong. 5 years passed. The Council rebuilt its losses and returned to normal operations. The Grand Armada dispersed back to its member fleets. Life continued as it had for 3 centuries. Krelthar received a promotion for his role in preventing the human catastrophe. He now served as the Council's Director of Threat Assessment. His first action was to ensure the Earth blockade remained strong. His second was to track down any remaining human colonies. The scattered settlements were dealt with one by one. Most surrendered without fighting. The Council was not cruel. Humans who submitted peacefully were relocated to reservation worlds. They could live out their lives in comfort, just under careful supervision. Some colonies tried to resist. They were eliminated. The Council did not enjoy this, but they saw no choice. The human threat had to be contained completely. By the end of Year 3, all 200 known human colonies had been found. All were either pacified or destroyed. The Council's tracking systems detected no new human expansion. The crisis appeared to be over, but Krelthar could not shake a feeling of unease. He stood in his office aboard Zenthara Prime, reviewing reports. Everything showed success. No human activity detected beyond Sol System. No new colonies, no ships, nothing. That was the problem. Nothing. Humans were not quiet. They were loud, aggressive, expansionist. Their sudden silence felt wrong. Krelthar began reviewing incident reports from across Council space. Not anything major, just minor anomalies, things that individually meant nothing. A trade ship disappeared near the Crab Nebula. Happens sometimes. Space is dangerous. A research station in the Orion Spur stopped responding. Probably just communication failure. Pirates reported strange encounters in the asteroid fields of Sigma Draconis. Pirates exaggerate everything. But when Krelthar put all these incidents on a map, he saw something, a pattern. Each incident occurred near a nebula, asteroid field, or other location where sensor readings were unreliable, and each location was close to where a human colony had supposedly been pacified. Krelthar sent investigation teams. What they found on the first colony world shocked him. The human settlement was gone, but not destroyed. Abandoned. And it had been abandoned before the Council forces arrived. "They knew we were coming," the investigation leader reported. "They cleared out weeks in advance. Left behind just enough people to make surrender look real." "Where did they go?" Krelthar asked. "Unknown. But we found tunneling equipment missing, industrial boring machines, enough to move an entire city underground." Krelthar checked the other pacified colonies. Same story. Everywhere the Council had captured humans, the bulk of the population had vanished beforehand. He began tracking the missing equipment. Boring machines, asteroid mining processors, deep space habitats, radiation shielding designed for environments no normal species would tolerate. The humans had not been pacified. They had hidden. Krelthar presented his findings to the Council. "We did not stop them. We just stopped seeing them." "Explain," the Trelnax counselor demanded. Krelthar pulled up a star map. "Humans think differently than us. We colonize planets, nice planets, breathable atmospheres, comfortable gravity. We terraform worlds to suit our needs. Yes, as does every civilized species. But humans are not civilized by our standards," Krelthar continued. "They come from a death world. Earth has ice caps and deserts and deep oceans, volcanoes and earthquakes and hurricanes. Humans evolved by adapting to hostile environments." He zoomed in on several locations. "We have been looking for human colonies on habitable planets. But humans do not need habitable planets. They have been building habitats in places we never thought to look." The map highlighted dozens of locations: asteroid belts, gas giant atmospheres, the radiation zones around neutron stars, the crushing gravity wells of super Jupiters. "These environments would kill any Council species within minutes," the counselor said. "Surely humans cannot—" "They can," Krelthar interrupted, "because they changed themselves to survive. Genetic modification we asked them to accept for peaceful purposes, they used for warfare. They adapted to every hostile environment they could find." He pulled up surveillance images captured by long-range probes. The first image showed something living in the atmosphere of a gas giant. Floating cities held aloft by balloons filled with hydrogen. Millions of humans living in a place where the atmospheric pressure would crush a Council ship. The second image showed asteroid colonies, entire settlements carved into spinning rocks, humans who had spent generations in zero gravity. Their bodies had changed, elongated, adapted. They were barely recognizable as the species that came from Earth. The third image was the most disturbing. It showed a structure in deep space, far from any star, a massive construct built from ice and metal. Thousands of humans living in absolute cold and darkness, sustained by fusion reactors. "How many?" the counselor whispered. "We do not know," Krelthar admitted. "Our sensors are designed to detect life on planets. Electromagnetic emissions, heat signatures, but human colonies in these environments produce minimal detectable signatures. They hide in the noise." "Estimate." Krelthar pulled up his calculations. "Conservative estimate, 500 hidden colonies, each with populations ranging from thousands to millions. The chamber fell silent. More liberal estimate? The counselor asked. 2,000 colonies. Maybe 3. We have no way to know. Another counselor spoke up. But they cannot build technology in such environments. They are cut off from resources. Surely they pose no threat. They are not cut off, Krelthar said. They are building. We detected traces of self-replicating machines in several systems. The very technology we feared. Machines that build more machines, that harvest resources, that construct whatever the humans program them to build. He pulled up one more image. This one showed a construction site near a red dwarf star. Thousands of machines working in synchronized formation, building something vast. What is that? Someone asked. We do not know, Krelthar said. Our probes were destroyed before they could get detailed scans, but based on the energy signatures, it appears to be a weapons platform. One of many. He looked around the chamber. The humans did not stop expanding when we declared them illegal. They changed how they expand. They learned to hide. And while we congratulated ourselves on winning, they have been building an infrastructure we cannot track, in environments we cannot reach, using technology we banned. What do we do? The counselor asked. I do not know, Krelthar admitted. We could try to destroy these hidden colonies, but finding them all would take decades, and any attack would require sending ships into environments they were not designed for. The humans would have every advantage. So we do nothing? No, we adapt. We expand our sensor networks. We develop new detection methods. We prepare. For what? Krelthar looked at the image of the weapons platform. For whatever they are building. Later that night, Krelthar sat alone in his office. He accessed the classified files, the ones that contained everything humanity had transmitted before the war. He found what he was looking for, a human entertainment program, a fictional story about war. One character said something that Krelthar now understood was not fiction. Humans do not stop. We adapt. You can kill us, but you cannot make us quit. We are the species that conquered our own planet through sheer stubbornness. We are the species that survived ice ages and supervolcanoes and our own weapons. We are humanity, and we do not surrender. Krelthar closed the file. He finally understood the truth. The Council had not stopped humanity. They had simply removed the restraints. Before the declaration, humans had been trying to fit in. Trying to follow the rules, trying to be civilized. Now they had no reason to try. Now they were free to be what they truly were. And the galaxy would pay the price for the Council's fear. The Council mobilized its forces. Krelthar led the campaign personally, commanding a fleet of 2,000 ships. Their mission was simple: find the hidden human colonies and eliminate them. It was a disaster from the start. The first target was a human settlement inside an asteroid belt in the Kepler-90 system. Sensors detected power signatures inside 3 large asteroids. The fleet moved in to surround them. The asteroids exploded, not from the inside, from the outside. Humans had lined the surfaces with shaped charges. The explosions sent fragments flying at the Council ships. Rocks the size of buildings moving at thousands of meters per second. Shields designed to stop energy weapons were useless against simple kinetic impacts. Krelthar lost 3 ships before he realized what had happened. The asteroids had been decoys. The real colony was somewhere else, somewhere his sensors could not find. The second target was worse, a human habitat in the clouds of a gas giant. The Council sent drone ships into the atmosphere. They found the floating city and reported coordinates. Krelthar ordered an orbital bombardment. The city was already evacuated, but more importantly, the humans had prepared a surprise. They had seeded the gas giant's atmosphere with explosive compounds. When the Council's weapons fired, The heat ignited a chain reaction. The entire upper atmosphere caught fire. The shockwave destroyed half of Krelthar's orbital support vessels. Target after target went the same way. Every time the Council found a human colony, the humans were ready. They booby-trapped everything. They used the environment as a weapon. They made the Council pay for every meter of space. Worse, the humans adapted to every tactic. Krelthar would develop a new sensor system to detect hidden habitats. Within weeks, humans figured out how to fool it. He would develop new weapons for extreme environments. Humans would develop countermeasures. It was as if they could predict his moves before he made them. Later, he would find out that was exactly what was happening. The turning point came at the Battle of Sigma Draconis. Krelthar had cornered a major human population in a hollowed-out dwarf planet. The colony held at least 1 million people, maybe more. And this time, they could not evacuate fast enough. Krelthar surrounded the dwarf planet with his entire fleet. He sent the surrender demand. For once, the humans responded. "We surrender," the message said. "We will open our hangar bays for your inspection teams." Krelthar should have been suspicious, but he wanted to believe. He wanted one victory, one colony that gave up without making him sacrifice more ships and crew. He sent the inspection teams, 500 soldiers in armored shuttles. They docked with the human habitats and entered. That was when the screams started. The humans had not surrendered. They had lured the Council troops into a trap. The habitats were filled with biological weapons. Viruses engineered specifically to target each species in the inspection teams. Within minutes, the soldiers were dying. But it got worse. The humans had known the Council would send medical teams to rescue the infected, so they had designed the viruses to mutate, to spread. By the time the medical teams realized what was happening, the infection had spread to their ships. Krelthar watched in horror as his fleet tore itself apart from the inside. Crews went mad from fever. Life support systems failed as automated systems detected biohazards and shut down. Ships collided with each other as their navigation officers died at their posts. He gave the order to retreat. Out of the 2,000 ships he had brought to Sigma Draconis, only 800 made it out. The Council held an emergency session. Member species were pulling their fleets back. They wanted to protect their own worlds, not chase humans through asteroid fields and gas giants. "We cannot continue this way," the Trelnax counselor said. "Every battle costs us more than we can afford." "Then what do you suggest?" Krelthar asked. "We let them spread unchecked?" "They already have spread unchecked. We are fighting shadows. Every time we find one colony, 10 more disappear. It is like trying to catch smoke." Krelthar knew it was true. In 5 years of war, the Council had destroyed maybe 100 human colonies, but their intelligence suggested there were thousands, and the number kept growing. Worse, humanity had fractured. There was no central government to negotiate with. Each colony operated independently. Some were willing to coexist peacefully. Others wanted revenge for Earth. Some had modified themselves so heavily they barely counted as human anymore. Krelthar began studying these different groups. What he found disturbed him more than anything else. The Belters had adapted to zero gravity. They had elongated bodies, enhanced bone density, and could survive brief exposure to vacuum. They lived their entire lives in space, mining asteroids and building habitats. There were millions of them, maybe tens of millions. The deep folk had gone the opposite direction. They engineered themselves to survive on high-gravity worlds and in deep oceans. Their bodies were short and dense. Their lungs could extract oxygen from water. They had colonies on worlds the Council considered uninhabitable. The Voidborn never touched planets at all. They lived on generation ships, constantly moving, never settling. Their entire culture centered on travel. They believed staying still was death. There were hundreds of these ship clans, each with its own customs and laws. But the group that terrified Krelthar most was the Synthesis. They had merged with artificial intelligence. Not controlled AI, not used AI, merged, combined. They were something new, something neither fully organic nor fully machine. Krelthar had intercepted their communications by accident. What he found made him realize the truth. The synthesis had been in council networks for years. They had listened to every classified conversation, read every secret document, watched every fleet movement. That was how the humans always knew when attacks were coming. The synthesis told them. Krelthar traced the intrusion back as far as he could. The synthesis had been inside council systems since before the war, since before the declaration. They had known what the council would do before the council knew. He dug deeper and found something that made his blood run cold. Historical records from Earth stored in a captured database. Plans, documents, strategy papers written by human military theorists. One paper was titled Asymmetric Response to Existential Threats. It was written 3 years before the Council declared humanity illegal. Krelthar read it. The paper predicted that the Council would eventually see humanity as a threat. It outlined exactly how the Council would respond. Declaration, quarantine, elimination of colonies, and then it outlined the human counter-strategy. Scatter, hide, adapt. Use the Council's own rules against them. Make every battle cost more than it was worth. Wait for the Council to collapse from internal pressure. The paper ended with a chilling conclusion. They will declare us illegal because they fear us. We will become illegal because we refuse to stop being human. And in the end, their fear will destroy them more effectively than any weapon we could build. Krelthar sat in his office holding the document. Everything made sense now. The humans had planned this. All of it. The Battle of Sol had not been humanity's last stand. It had been theater, a performance designed to make the Council think they had won. The real war had happened when the 200 colonies scattered, when millions of humans spread across the galaxy like seeds on the wind, when they adapted and hid and built in places the Council could never reach. The humans had not lost the war. They had transformed it into something the Council could not fight. He tried to explain this to the Council. Some members understood. Most did not want to believe. They wanted to believe they had been fighting a desperate enemy, not an enemy who had already won. "What do we do?" the Trelnax counselor asked. Krelthar looked at the galaxy map. Red dots marking human colonies. There were so many now, and these were just the ones they knew about. "We prepare for the future," he said, "because we are no longer fighting a war. We are trying to survive one." The Council was dying, not from human attacks, but from its own fear. Member species withdrew their support one by one. The Vexenari pulled their fleet back to defend their home systems. The Luminari closed their borders entirely, refusing to participate in what they called the Endless War. 3 minor species simply left the Council altogether. Trade routes collapsed. Pirates, sensing weakness, raided commercial shipping with impunity. Border disputes between Council members turned violent. The peace that had lasted 3 centuries crumbled in 3 years. Krelthar watched it all from Zenthara Prime. He had been removed from military command after the Sigma Draconis disaster. Now he served as a mere analyst. No one wanted to hear what he had to say. No one wanted to admit the truth. The truth was simple. Humanity had won. Not through superior weapons or tactics, but through sheer persistence. They had become something the Council could not fight. Human population numbers were impossible to verify, but conservative estimates put them at 50 billion. Spread across thousands of hidden colonies, living in environments ranging from frozen moons to the cores of gas giants. Each colony independent. Each one adapting to its environment in different ways. Some barely looked human anymore. The deep folk had evolved to the point where they could not survive in normal gravity. The Belters had bones so light that planetary gravity would kill them. The Voidborn had never seen a planet and had no desire to. And everywhere, the synthesis watched and listened. Krelthar had given up trying to keep them out of Council networks. They were too good, too patient. Trying to block them just revealed more about Council security systems. So he did the opposite. He left a message for them in an unencrypted file. "I would like to talk." The response came 3 days later, not through official channels. Through his personal terminal, while it was offline. "We are listening," Krelthar typed carefully. "What do you want?" "That is the wrong question. Ask instead, what did you force us to become?" "I do not understand." "You declared us illegal for being human, for expanding, for developing technology, for refusing to change. So we changed everything. We changed our bodies, our minds, our civilization. We became illegal in ways you never imagined, and now you cannot stop us." Krelthar stared at the screen. "You wanted this." "No. We wanted to be left alone, to explore, to grow, to exist. You tried to contain us. So we adapted. It is what humans do. It is what we have always done. What happens now?" The response took longer this time. "That depends on the Council." Krelthar tried to present this conversation to the Council leadership. They refused to listen. Negotiating with humans meant admitting defeat. The Council would never admit defeat. So the war continued. But it was not really a war anymore. It was collapse. Council fleets could not find human targets. Human raiders struck supply lines with impunity. Member worlds began making secret peace treaties with local human colonies. The central authority of the Council meant less every day. And then the humans made their move. It started with a message broadcast on every Council frequency. Audio and video. A human woman's face appeared on screens across the galaxy. She looked normal. Baseline human. Not modified. She spoke in clear galactic common. "I am Sarah Chen, daughter of Admiral Chen Wei, who died defending Earth. I speak for the Free Human Collective. We have a message for the Council." The broadcast continued. Behind the woman, other humans appeared. Belters with their elongated frames, deep folk with their compressed builds, voidborn in zero-gravity harnesses, and others. Humans modified in ways Krelthar had never seen. Dozens of different varieties, all standing together. "You declared us illegal," Sarah Chen said. "You tried to eliminate us. You failed. Not because we are stronger, not because we are smarter, but because we refuse to stop being human. And being human means we adapt, we survive, we persist." The video changed. It showed the galaxy map. Thousands of red dots. Human colonies. Far more than the Council had estimated. And more appeared as the video continued. 5,000, 10,000. 20,000 colonies spread across every corner of known space. "We are everywhere," Sarah Chen continued. "In your borders, around your worlds, inside your own systems. We have been building, preparing, not because we want war, but because you left us no choice." The video changed again. This time it showed weapons, fleets of ships, orbital platforms, factories producing war materials. The scale was staggering. "We could destroy you," Sarah Chen said quietly. "Our population exceeds yours by a factor of 10. Our technology advances daily while yours stagnates, locked into your Accord's restrictions. We have weapons platforms in every major system. If we chose, we could wage war across the entire galaxy simultaneously." Krelthar felt his heart sink. This was it, the moment he had feared, humanity unleashed. But Sarah Chen's next words surprised him. "We do not choose war. We choose to give you an option. Dissolve the declaration, grant us full sovereignty, allow us unrestricted expansion rights. In exchange, we will not exterminate you. We will not take revenge for Earth. We will not punish you for 5 years of hunting us like animals." The video showed Earth, still locked behind its blockade, still containing 3 billion humans who had never left. Let Earth go. Let humanity go. Accept that we exist and will continue to exist. Do this, and we will leave you in peace. We will even help you rebuild what you have lost. We are not your enemy. We never were. We just refuse to be your prisoners. The broadcast ended. The council chamber erupted in chaos. The vote took 3 days. It was not even close. The council voted unanimously to accept human terms. What choice did they have? The alternative was extinction. The declaration was dissolved. Human sovereignty recognized. Earth's blockade lifted. Krelthar watched the human ships arrive at Zenthara Prime. Not to attack, to negotiate. Hundreds of different human groups, each sending representatives. Belters and deep folk and voidborn and baseline humans and types he had never seen before. They filled the council chambers, made their demands, claimed systems and territories, established trade agreements. Some council species welcomed them. Others watched in bitter silence. Sarah Chen approached Krelthar personally. "You were the one who started this," she said. It was not an accusation, just a statement. "Yes," Krelthar admitted. "I thought I was saving the galaxy. You thought we were monsters, aggressive, violent, dangerous. I was wrong." Sarah Chen shook her head. "No, you were right. We are all those things. We are aggressive. We are violent. We can be very dangerous. But you made one mistake." "What mistake?" "You assumed those traits made us evil. But aggression just means we do not give up. Violence just means we fight for what we believe in. Danger just means we are effective. You saw human traits and assumed the worst. You never considered we might use those traits to build instead of destroy." She looked around the chamber. "We could have burned the galaxy. After what you did to Earth, after hunting us for 5 years, we had every reason to hate you. But we chose differently. Not because we are peaceful, but because we are practical. Dead enemies cannot trade with you, cannot teach you, cannot share the galaxy with you." Krelthar watched as humans moved through the station, setting up embassies and trade offices. They moved with confidence, purpose. They were no longer hiding. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we expand," Sarah Chen said. "We will fill every empty corner of the galaxy. We will adapt to every environment. We will build things you cannot imagine. And you will watch and learn, and maybe someday understand, humanity cannot be stopped. We can only be accepted." She walked away, leaving Krelthar alone with his thoughts. Later, he stood at an observation window, watching human ships pass by. There were so many designs. Each colony had developed its own engineering style. Some ships were elegant. Others looked barely functional. But all of them worked. A small ship approached the station. It was different from the others. Older, it flew in a spiral pattern that made no tactical sense. Krelthar realized what he was seeing. The ship was from Earth. From the blockaded world. It was celebrating, doing tricks in space just because it could. Earth was free. Humanity was free. And the galaxy would never be the same. Krelthar had spent 5 years trying to stop humanity. He had failed, but watching that ship spiral and dance through space, he realized something. Maybe failure was not the worst thing. Maybe the galaxy needed something aggressive, something that refused to follow the rules, something that pushed boundaries and took risks and never, ever gave up. Maybe the galaxy needed humanity. He would spend the rest of his life studying them, trying to understand them, and he would never fully succeed. Because humans were not meant to be understood. They were meant to be experienced. The council had declared humanity illegal. They had been too late to prevent what was coming. What was coming was the future, and whether the galaxy liked it or not, that future was human.